This mountain range is called Les Vosges in France, north of the Alps. And there are many different routes you can follow here, but I'm going to be following the one that got published here on bikepacking.com. The route is about 400 kilometers, about 10,000 meters of elevation, 85% off-road, 2% of single track, and to all that I'm adding about 250 kilometers of tarmac. So pretty mixed terrain, which is supposed to be an ideal riding environment for this super versatile bike. So we're gonna see gravel, chunky gravel, tarmac, forest road, double track and a little bit of single track. My bridge club is a custom build. The main reason why I chose to build my own version of the bridge club is related to my choice of drivetrain and brakes. And I'm hoping during this bikepacking test to be able to show why I think my choice for this component might be better than the ones that come with the complete bike. For this trip, I'm fully equipped with my camping gear and a couple of days worth of food. This is a hybrid setup with a custom full frame bag, 2 small front panniers and a couple of small handlebar bags for camera equipment and snacks. I carry 1 liter of water down here and 2 more liters on my camelback. The weight of the fully loaded bike is about 28 kilos. So I've been riding for a while now, and the one thing that I noticed is that the handling of the bike, well, it changes a lot from when the bike is not loaded at the front, and that's maybe because the bike geometry is not necessarily made for putting all the weight at the front. At the moment I'm carrying 7 kilos plus the weight of the bags themselves plus the rack. And I just feel that I would like it to be a little bit more reactive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to move some weight to the frame bag at the center, because I think the bike is gonna handle that much better, and we'll see how it goes. Later on, I was able to redistribute the weight and transfer about 2.5 kilos from the front to the center. So the front load now is about 4.5 kilos, and the handling was literally perfect. So 4.5 kilos plus about 600 grams per pannier plus 500 grams for the rack. It makes a total of approximately 6 to 6.5 kilos. And that for me is the sweet spot for the front load. Another setup that I think could work very well is having the panniers at the back and using the fork for water, which would spare me having the camelback. Another would be using smaller and lighter front panniers and compensate with a saddlebag, which personally I don't like, but many people are okay with them. A good thing about carrying a few kilos at the front is that at high speeds the bike keeps the line and feels super stable. And it also helps to keep the front wheel grounded on steep climbs, especially considering the reactive, relatively short chainstays that tend to lift the front wheel on steep climbs. So the front weight helps to keep the front wheel on the ground. There is something about the geometry of this bike that, without being a mountain bike, it has the capacity to make me feel confident off-road. And for the sections on tarmac, it almost has the same efficiency and handling of a traditional touring bike. To maximize the versatility on this bike, it's very important to put the right tire pressure for each particular terrain. So when the bike is loaded, it does lose some of the natural snappiness and reactivity of the relatively short chainstays, but that's normal. I would still put this bike on the more dynamic and reactive type of all-road touring bike. I love it. The geometry is also comfortable, so you can put yourself in a rather upright position and enjoy the views around you. Now let's talk about drivetrain. I built this bike around an old 3x9 drivetrain with partly second-hand parts. The total gear range is 655%, with the lowest ratio of 0.61 given by a 22-tooth small chainring and a 36-tooth big cassette sprocket. The current version of the Bridge Club comes with a 1x11 drivetrain with the smallest ratio of 0.62 given by a 32-tooth chainring and a 51-tooth big sprocket at the back. So for the steep climbs, my build and the complete bike are equipped with pretty much the same small ratio. For the biggest ratio, on the other hand, my 44-tooth chainring plus my small 11-tooth sprocket gives me a ratio of 4, whereas the complete bike with the 32-tooth chainring and the 11-tooth sprocket offers a ratio of 2.9, which is really not a lot. One great thing about this bike is versatility. So in my opinion, the gear range should be wide enough so you can really make the most of the bike. With my 3x9 drivetrain with 655% range, I find myself using the whole range of gears from the smallest on the climbs to the biggest on more favorable conditions, or for example, when cycling up and down hilly sections, you can only make the most of the downhill if you have a ratio that's big enough to enable you to put enough power at high speeds. That energy that you create on the downhill can make you save a lot of time and effort on the climb. Unfortunately, my old Shimano Dior 3x9 is not longer in production, but you can still find the 3x10 on Dior and Dior XT trekking level, and that's what I would get if I were to build this bike again. The brakes. You know, one of the things that I like about this bike is the simplicity. No through axles, no suspension corrected, no flat mounts, no boost OLD weird standard. So I thought just keep it simple, and that's why I chose cable pull disc brakes. And I can tell you that even with the load and all the downhill that I've been doing in this trip, they provide more than enough stopping power and enough modulation as well. And although I do like hydraulic brakes because they are super powerful and comfortable and have amazing modulation, for this bike specifically, I still prefer the repairability and easiness of maintenance of mechanical brakes, because this bike is for traveling, so I want to be able to repair my bike myself with the minimum equipment. These are the Avid BB7 cable pulled disc brakes, and I only need a couple of Allen keys for changing pads, cables and housing, and I could literally do it on the side of the road. With hydraulics, you need a bleed kit and specific brake oil. You also need a place where to correctly dispose the oil, and so at the end of the day the process is just more complicated. For increasing the braking power, I'm using 180mm rotors instead of the 160mm on the complete bike. And if you're going for mechanical brakes, I really recommend you to do the same, because mechanical brakes do have a bit less power than hydraulic, so bigger rotors help to compensate. Okay, so is the Bridge Club a good bike for bikepacking tours? Of course. It's not a super performance bike, it's a little bit heavy, but it's reliable, it's affordable, and it's comfortable. It's not the bike that I would take for doing a lot of mountain bike single track either, but for mixed terrain, Bridge Club is king. It can get you through almost anything. Not necessarily fast, but it can get you through. It has plenty of possibilities for loading the bike in different ways depending on your own preferences, more off-road oriented or more traditional touring oriented, or hybrid setup like me. And the two things that I prefer on my build over the complete bike are, first, the gear range. That's really important to me because this is a versatile bike for mixed terrain. And for mixed terrain and versatility, loaded, unloaded, off-road, on-road, bikepacking or touring, you need a wide range of gears, in my opinion. Second, hydraulic brakes are great, but this bike is about simplicity. So for me, cable-pulled brakes make more sense and allow me to be more resilient and they have plenty of stopping power. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.